Hey everyone, the third episode of Disney and Marvel's Agatha All Along is out, and it's pretty clear how the series is developing at this point. So let's get into it. But first, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more, and definitely hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything, because this is actually a show that I really do want to talk with you about. So the first two episodes, yeah, they started out just a little bit slow for me, but now we're on episode 3 with the Witch's Road and through many miles of tricks and trials. So the key story beats in this episode are that one, we learned the obvious lesson through Mrs. Hart that they have to stay on the path or bad things are going to happen. They also encountered their first trial, which took place in, surprise, surprise, a New England style beach house that transformed all of them into summer elite vacationers. These are the posh, uber rich of the Northeast. And the details here were so on point, right down to the white shoes and the poisoned red wine. It took them a little bit too long to figure out that the wine was the test and that the potions witch had to solve it, which basically came down to brewing an antidote for the poison before they all died. It's clear that each episode is going to be just a little over 30 minutes, with the next 4 episodes focusing on one trial for each witch. Episode 8 will likely bring us to the end of the Witch's Road, where the survivors will all get the object they most desire, and the finale will return us to the real world, where they're going to face the repercussions of their choices. If they stick with this 30-minute episodic format, there isn't going to be a whole lot of character development that will serve as connective tissue for the story, creating that deeper, more meaningful experience that the audience, like us, like we're craving. Personally, I hope the Salem 7 follows them onto the Witch's Road so that it breaks the pattern that I just laid out, because it will raise the stakes and it will increase the tension for everyone, including the audience. This series feels like a weekly sitcom from the 90s, like Friends, except as a dark fantasy comedy or a buddy comedy. That doesn't make it bad necessarily. It just makes it different than the kind of storytelling that Marvel fans are used to, which could be a problem for the series. But based on Disney's other series like Percy Jackson, The Descendants, and Goosebumps, I do think they actually have a strong enough following of young viewers to make it work. This would mean that each episode will have a clear arc with a beginning, middle, and end that will build a larger season arc, bringing us to the finale in the time-tested network television format like NBC, but this is a Marvel series, not network television. So I'm hoping that we do break that up just a little bit so that, oh, so it's not quite so predictable. If they don't break it up, the question is, will it feel too formulaic since the episodes are so short that they really can't focus on character development like we need? I do think that watching Agatha All Along as a weekly episodic series will likely be a little frustrating for some people because it creates a flatter story experience. But once the season is done, I would bet you that it'll be ideal for binge watching, since the episodes will naturally build more and more tension in quicker and quicker succession. And there will be just enough character development to kind of stitch it together. So in some ways, once you're able to binge it, it'll likely address some of the pacing issues and some of the tension issues that we're currently missing. Before I go any further, I really need to talk about Mrs. Hart. She's the one character who is a true innocent in this series. And for a really long time, especially in series like this, the true innocents were handled a little differently. Mrs. Hart, she was pulled onto the witch's road through deceit and was essentially sacrificed by the others. She's a bit annoying, yeah, but she thought these women really wanted to be her friends. Instead, they used her to open the door and then they ignored her once they were in the world. And it was a world that she didn't understand. She didn't know anything about witches. She didn't know anything about magic. She didn't know anything about the witch's road. So they essentially let her die by not treating her with even an inkling of human kindness or understanding. She served her story purpose and then she was erased. She was let go. She was not needed. Yes, granted, this is a villain's story and people are likely going to die, but it's also not Game of Thrones and George R. R. Martin didn't write this episode. So it feels wrong and how and why she died. I'm not saying she shouldn't have eventually died because I think some people do actually need to die in this series because of the trial that they're on. But I just don't think she should have been the first one. She didn't know about any of this stuff, and she was tricked into coming, and she needed to have a little bit of a learning experience within the series before she was kind of axed and kind of killed off. So essentially, yeah, she was scared, and the others didn't really care. This group of women is selfish, self-absorbed, and wholly focused on their own desires, leaving no room to help another woman, an older woman who was scared and out of her depth. It was only the teen boy who thought of her. You know, the way this story choice was made, I think it's kind of shameful. And I think that says more about the state of Disney's storytelling today than anything I have seen in years. And this is not the Disney that I grew up watching. This is a mean Disney. It's not what I would expect when I look back over the history of Disney storytelling and what Disney once was and how they handled these kinds of characters and situations. Yeah, I just don't think they handled Mrs. Hart in the right way. But beyond the treatment of Mrs. Hart, the episode drops some interesting hints about Agatha's backstory, particularly the connection between her and the teen boy, who I really do think is her son. The look on his face when he learned that Agatha sacrificed her son to get the Book of the Damned makes it really clear that she could be his mother, and he knows. What I'm curious about is whether this series will turn into Agatha's redemption story, with her choosing him at the end, or if it will stay focused on her desire to regain her power. That's the big question for this series, which calls into question whether or not this is a hero's journey or a villain's journey. One thing that they do a great job with is the inclusion of the witch's lore in each episode and how they highlight it in the ending credits. The first three episodes are full of nods to historical and literary witches, including the path that is reminiscent of the Yellow Brick Road from The Wizard of Oz, to the abandoned witch house and the oven in Grimm's fairy tales. Plus, the titles of each episode are part of a spell that is associated with the witch's road. The interconnectedness of the fairy tales is also really well done. And it actually even reminds me of Stephen King's book, Fairy Tale, which imagines how all of our modern fairy tales came out of this magical realm that you access by opening this wooden door in the floor. And then you walk down this long spiral stone staircase to a path that leads out onto a magical landscape. And there's a path ahead of you winding through the land. And I don't know, as I'm saying this, that's exactly how Agatha's coven accesses the witch's road into the magical realm to do their trials, which I don't know if that was intentional or accidental, but it's a little too spot on. I think whoever wrote this series definitely read Stephen King's book. So there is that. Overall, episode 3 was fine from the perspective of the story, the structure, and the adventure. And it established the magical world and the trials that we can expect in future episodes. I'm going to keep watching, but I am unsure if Disney really understands who their audience is for this series, other than an ultra generic group of female viewers. Maybe this will continue to become clearer in episode 4 and beyond. I guess we'll find out. So, Agatha, All Along, episode 3. Did you see it? What did you think? And how did you feel about Mrs. Hart? And be honest, like, am I just being a little too sensitive for this quirky kind old lady? Or, I don't know. Or did they do her wrong? I would really love to know what you think. So please definitely share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear them. Remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. That's it for now. I'll see y'all again soon.